Let's see. Oh, hey, folks, we'll get started shortly. We will get started shortly, folks. It's on up there. Set up here. Go ahead and access the doc if you would be so kind. You should have been able to get it in the lobby, but also here. Welcome, welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome. I'm Ricardo Elizalde. This is Critically Evaluating Media. All right, and everybody can see my deck, okay? Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you can see my deck, or give me a hello if you can see my deck. Let me find one more thing. It's the links for these things, and then I'll get started in about a minute. All right. So if you haven't signed in yet, here's the sign in. And remember, you only have to sign in once today. And then here's the deck as well. All right. Oh, no, that's not the right deck. That's not the right deck. Sorry, guys. Delete. Delete. All right. This is the right deck. Sorry about that. I just had a different session. All right, that's the right deck for this session. All right, so we got 22 people in here and we're about to get started. All right, folks, go ahead and access that deck. And don't worry if you don't access it, because it is also, that bit.ly is also on most of the slides on these slides. We're gonna get started shortly. Let's see, about 11:02. Okay, so that's this is Critically Evaluating Media and Other Literacy Resources. This is some work that we did in my class at Herbert Hoover about a year and a couple of months ago. This was a piece of artwork that one of my students did. And then a lot of what a lot of times we used Post-it notes and stuff to get our messages across and to tell it to the classroom. There it is, the resources for today. And if you haven't signed in, please sign in. Information for how to get paid, really important to get paid for these sessions. And then go ahead, your name, school and grade, answer one of the two of the following questions. How has media literacy made it into your classroom? Why is it important to bring media literacy to your students? And then what is one thing you would like to take from today? Go ahead and add to that. And I'm actually to And please give me a thumbs up for those of you who are watching, whether my captions are coming out. All right, so let's go ahead and add to that chat, please. In the chat, your name, school, and grade. I thought we should have access to chatting to the whole group. Do we not have access to chatting to the whole group? Let me look at security right quick.
Only direct messages. What I meeting chat.
Okay, well, let's see if that works. How about now? Does it work? Instead of direct messages, changing to everyone is locked.
Okay.
All right. So, well, I guess I could just read them out loud if I can't figure out how to chat. Karen Warren, Lincoln High School, SPED is here. Thank you, Karen. How has literacy made it into your classroom? Alex from Francisco Middle School. Adam Smith from the Department of Technology is here. Thank you for coming. Rich Goldstein. Carrie's for 11th and 12th grade teacher at George Washington. This is no good with the thing locked. Hey, Ricardo. Bonnie Quinn, you got to everyone then. All right, cool. All right, great. I turned it on. I don't know how I turned it on, but I turned it on. Dominic Vasquez, thank you. Says, question one, it's important for students to be able to read and understand the sources they encounter. Modern and ancient sources require critical analysis to get the full picture. Thank you, Dominic. We have Kent at Lincoln High. I think that everyone should work. All right, we're gonna move forward. If you need access to the deck, it's there on the bottom of the screen. And here we go. I'm Ricardo Elizalde, digital learning partner and PBS certified media literacy educator, which means I created a lesson that had evaluating resources, which I'm going to share with you today. And I got like a micro credential for it. Also Department of Technology. And then there is my contact information. Intros, I guess the agenda. There's the agenda, warm opener, objectives, the story of how this PD came about. We're going to talk about the lesson that I did with my classroom for critically evaluating media, and then also for evaluating online information. I talked to a librarian and she shared a little bit of information with me about the things that she shares with her students. We were gonna do this in tandem, but she couldn't make it today. We have finally at the end, we have media literacy resources and a choice board for you. One choice board is like a to-go thing, like it's either a video or infographic, something that you can put into play into your classroom pretty quickly. And then the other one has you digging deeper. Judith Gibbs actually added something. Think critical assessment of what media presents is, well, critical for people of all ages. Children and teens can and should learn the deeper meanings and encoded messages and unexamined assumptions of TV ads of all kinds, movies, videos, textbooks, also talk radio. Thank you. And then there's a short discussion at the end about what you found and what you might use. Any questions so far? All right. So participants are going to explore and select resources for building a media literacy unit in their classroom or just a lesson, consider and discuss how to implement these resources into the classroom. Very simply, those two things today. this information comes from, a lot of it comes from the National Association of Media Literacy Educators. And the idea is that we're media literate when we can access, analyze, evaluate, create, and act upon the things. Today, we are simply concentrating on analyze and evaluating. If you look at my other sessions, they talk about creating and acting, about creating multimedia pieces, but also always with this background of being able to analyze and evaluate the media that you use to spread your information. So these are the resources. This is media literacy defined, core principles and key questions. Really robust space to go into and to examine if you're interested in media literacy. The story behind this work was about 1.5 years ago. I was at Hoover and I wanted to finish getting that media literacy certification from PBS. And so there were 2 that I had left over to do. And so one of them was critically analyzing media, and then the other one was evaluating online sources. And so these are the lessons that I created in order to go ahead and do that, in order to examine, having students examine, but first I had to examine some things. So this was the lesson for critically evaluating media. And this is essentially exactly how I presented it to my class. So what issues speak to you in preparation for your final project? That's a piece of artwork that one of my students designed. It was, we were writing a conspiracy theory paper and about to tackle the issues project. And then like that week, President Obama started talking about this stuff. And so I kind of want to play you the speech that I played for my students. I think I just played like 2 or 3 minutes of it. So let's take a listen to what Obama says.
Former President Barack Obama taking on a major problem we all face, disinformation. Today, he gave a speech at Stanford University near Silicon Valley. He says lies and conspiracy theories on social media have weakened democracy. He also suggests that disinformation will get worse because of new technology.
If we do nothing, I'm convinced the trends that we're seeing will get worse. With the emergence of AI, disinformation will grow more sophisticated.
But Mr. Obama says there's still hope, and he even offered some solutions. CNBC's Eamon Javers was at Stanford University for the former president's speech. Hi, Eamon.
You know, Tyler, during his 2 terms as president of the United States, Barack Obama was a darling of Silicon Valley. He regularly met with the top technology executives, and he raked in campaign contributions from technology company employees. But today, the 44th president of the United States came here to deliver a message of criticism, saying that social media is corroding democracy and urging the tech companies to do the right thing.
Thank you, everybody. All we see is a constant feed of content where useful, factual information and happy diversions and cat videos flow alongside lies, conspiracy theories, junk science, quackery, and over time we lose our capacity to distinguish between fact, opinion, and wholesale fiction.
Obama called for regulation of the technology companies, saying that the First Amendment is a check on state power and doesn't apply to technology companies.
Decisions like this shouldn't be left solely to private interests.
Obama said the social media companies should disclose what's in the algorithms that control how fast information spreads, even if they do that secretly to government regulators. And the former aides to the former president told me today that he was just laying down broad principles here for how all this should play out. And he was deliberately vague about exactly who would do all this regulating and who would be in charge of that process. So that debate is going to take place in a Washington, D.C. that is much more divided and much more partisan than it was even when Barack Obama was president.
And what a debate it will be.
All right, thanks for listening, folks. Let's see. So this is the objective I gave to my students. Students will learn the process for critically analyzing media and independently analyze a piece of media of their choosing. We did a brainstorm, what issues we're facing in our community. There was homelessness, there was gun violence. And I don't think those things have changed in like a year. A lot of the same stuff that we're still dealing with. That's the definition that I gave them. Critical analysis of media is the detailed examination and evaluation of a piece of media by breaking down and studying its parts. This was the document that I created, and this was the example that I showed them. And so let me grab this a little bit. And if you notice the questions, this linked to the NPR story that I listened to. This was the creator's perspective and purpose. And so I did this first before them. Production choices are on the side, how the media is constructed. And so we listened to it, and then they read this as an example, as a kind of a mentor text. And that was essentially it for that section. And so this is your document that I've created for you, the critical analysis example. And actually, sorry about that. Your turn, I think, is this document. And so here's the document. Here are the podcasts I used from NPR, and I gave them choice of what they could select. And then I had all these questions to prompt their thinking about the creator's perspective and purpose. And then the production choices, how the media is constructed. And then I told them to answer it in paragraph form. So feel free to use this document to have your students evaluate. If you have other things that you want to have them listen to instead of NPR, go ahead and link that here. By all means, this is yours to use. Any questions so far? All right, so we're going to continue. And then this is what the students said. No. Okay, so we'll just read it from here because I did not check that link. This activity changed the way I understand and evaluate media because I don't normally look at soundscapes, music, etc. I've always put all my focus on what the speakers were saying, but never have the sounds in the background affected it. However, this is important because the sounds can drastically change the tone and feeling of the media. The learning activity changed how I see media, since now I know what's going on behind the process of making things on the media. So that was a bit of student reflection. And I'll fix that link after this session. A note and a few questions. The NPR podcast had some adult language, so this was geared towards the 8th grade. A way to make it fit lower grades is if you vet and use a podcast for a younger audience. And then right here is a list of common sense media vetted podcasts. So I'm gonna ask you now if there's anybody that wants to say a little bit about the resources that are here or how you could adapt this to fit your classroom. We could open up our mics and one or two people share, and then we'll go, we'll continue to the next lesson that I shared with them. All right, I'm just going to continue. All right, so this was the evaluating online information, kind of the same tack as the other piece. The do now was how do you verify sources and how do you know if a source is credible or not? And so this was exactly the way I presented it to my students, is what you guys are seeing. And so for this, we're going to employ lateral reading to help evaluate the credibility of an online source. If you haven't heard of lateral reading, here's a little bit of a snippet of what it is. And we're gonna watch video. after we watch the video, go ahead and undo the mic and somebody tell me what lateral reading is. But let's listen to the video first.
How are you taught to evaluate the credibility of online sources? Everyone knows that information on the web may be shallow, incomplete, inaccurate, or heavily biased, and many of us have been taught to explore the features of a website to assess its credibility. You may have learned to ask, is this site a .com or a .org? Does the site incorporate advertisements? Was it written by someone who appears to have appropriate expertise? Are there citations to supporting evidence or research? Is the information current? While sometimes useful, these questions can also misdirect you because they rely on superficial markers of credibility and authority. For example, some .org websites may be reliable and nonpartisan, while others may be partisan political action groups or even promoters of widely debunked conspiracy theories. On the other hand, some of the most authoritative news websites are .coms with advertisements, such as the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. Relying on superficial markers to evaluate credibility can be problematic because most websites won't say, I was designed by a biased political organization with an intent to manipulate you, or I'm leaving out important information that might give you a more objective perspective on this issue, or I was written by an uninformed person with no relevant expertise. So how do we improve our ability to evaluate websites when we know that some individuals and organizations may be working hard to misrepresent themselves and misinform us? By using a skill called lateral reading. Lateral reading is a simple concept used by professional fact checkers and other savvy thinkers to judge the credibility of unfamiliar sources. While many of us judge a website by reading vertically, scrolling up and down to look for markers of credibility, or perhaps clicking on links within the site, fact checkers jump outside the site, using new browser tabs to seek additional information about the site's credibility, reputation, funding sources, and potential biases. In other words, fact checkers read laterally or horizontally across multiple web pages to get a big picture view of the site they're evaluating. They use Wikipedia, credible news sources, and other references on the web to understand what a source is and how credible it might be. They don't just take the source's word for it. For example, this news story on heavy metal music fan culture is on fizz.org, a website that may be unfamiliar to us. But if I open up a new tab, I can search for information about fizz.org and find out that it's a news aggregator that often republishes science news from across the web. I can also verify that the research discussed in the news story originated from University College London and PhD anthropology student Lindsay Bishop. By doing some homework on the source through lateral reading, we get a much better sense of what this source is and its level of credibility. We can also begin to think about its strengths and limitations from a more informed point of view. In this case, we might decide the information is reliable and a good starting point, but we might also want to look beyond this brief news story and find the original research or other more in-depth scholarly information. With lateral reading, you can move beyond the superficial aspects of website evaluation and develop a more nuanced and more complete perspective on the credibility of your sources.
All right, so what do you guys think? What do we have to do for lateral reading before we actually put it into play? Either in the chat or open up your mic and tell me.
So to me, it seems like lateral reading is a process of kind of dissecting the source in a similar way to the previous kind of assignment you had the students do, where they're looking at who's making it, where is it coming from? Is the organization legitimate and credible? And they're using other sources to kind of verify and corroborate the information and making sure that it's actually what it says it is and that there's no missing information.
Right on. Thank you very much, sir. All right, let's move forward. We're actually going to put this into practice. All right, so we're going to apply lateral reading to this piece of media. So you have the slide deck open, you have the piece of media. I can also put the link of the piece of media in the chat in just a second. And I'll show you the piece. So there's the, before I even listen to it, I can fill most of this out. And we're gonna watch 5 ways Congress can solve the border crisis. And if you don't have that link, I'm gonna throw it in the chat right quick. And that'll take you to that page of the slide deck, but I'm gonna play it for all of us. And let's see if we can't figure out in lateral reading whether this is reliable or not. All right, so now go ahead and open up another tab and tell me fairus.org, is it a reliable source or not? And you go ahead and open up another tab like we did with the lateral reading, like you're supposed to do, and then tell me what you guys find about this organization. And you can put it in the chat, or you can tell us all. So Eliza says it's a white supremacist organization. By doing the lateral reading, she linked to the Southern Poverty Law Center under extremist files. You guys can read that. They're eugenicists and have made a lot of racist statements. So we kind of not very reliable source, I think. Yeah. And it's a quick hit to teaching kids how to go about this. You show them that 30-second video, and they're able to find these. They're able to use lateral reading to vet that source pretty quickly. So somebody's asking, where does FAIR have ties to white supremacist group? Are we talking about fairness and accuracy in media? So it's fairus.org, huh? It's this right here. Fair enough. Somebody says they can see a young person getting confused. Yes, please mute, folks. All right, I'm going to move us forward, and I'm going to show you the document that I used with the kids. So again, I gave them a definition. Evaluating online information is a process that the reader goes through to assess the credibility of the information. And then I gave them a document similar to the one from before. It looks like this. And then they could fill this information out down here. If you're at a school site, these research databases work well. If you want to use these research databases, that's fine as well. We'll move forward. A little bit of a student reflection. This learning activity has changed the way I see and understand and evaluate media I come across. By looking over the website, I am at more. Now I would look over and search up more about the website I'm using the website could be very biased and not give the information that is reliable. For example, the website can include things that would start rumors and problems with others. It could be about politics and theories that they might have, and that can make the reader confused. All right. So we're off to, so those are the two examples, and I'm going to give you a chance to go through the examples and see what you can use in your classroom in just a second. Now I have like an elementary school example. So this comes from the librarian at Marshall and Hillcrest Elementary Schools, Judy Varatel. And she said that you can start with a brainstorm. And so this is, what are some problems with information was the initial question she asked. And if you look here, there's a bunch of bullet points down here about what the kid said. Sometimes information is too complicated and confusing. Sometimes people invent information that isn't true. So the topic's already there in front of your fifth graders, in front of your fourth graders about information. She has a link, not a link, but a picture of a zine that they made. And then finally, there's this book recommendation. And if you haven't borrowed a book using Hoopla, you need a library card, but that takes you to the link to the book, and you can get an e-version of the book. And then, yes, please, Ada, turn off your microphone, please. And then Killer Underwear Invasion is how to spot fake news, disinformation, and conspiracy theories. And so I looked through some of it. This is the table of contents from that book. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but I've read some of it. And then here's a little comic I'll give you about a scorpion invasion, and the little caricature here getting scared. Let me see if I'm able to mute her. Let me see. Haha. Thanks, Desiree. All right, so I'm gonna continue. There's a little bit more information for you, and then we're gonna have a discussion. I hope it's not too much information. Anybody have any questions so far about the different information that I'm sharing here today? All right, we're just gonna continue then. So media literacy resources. Like I said, I have two documents for you. One is to go, and I think that you can put this information into play pretty quickly in your classroom. And then this is a digging deeper. I'm gonna go over. I adapted it a little bit because you know, over the course of a year you might want to add some different pieces. So I'm gonna show you a few new things in the to-go media literacy resources. Just if you notice, these are infographics, these are videos, and then there's one more on lateral reading. This new edition, I just added it yesterday. The best media literacy tip to vet credible resources has a couple of videos that you could use in your classroom. So you're more than welcome to look at any of this stuff, explore any of this stuff. And the digging deeper resources. So PBS Learning Media, KQED Teach, the News Literacy Project. This is everywhere where I've gathered the information so that you guys can present it to your students. This one is new. I got it at the Namely conference a couple of weeks ago. It's AI and media literacy, so you might want to check that out. And yeah, that's the digging deeper. So let's go ahead. You can go back to the lessons that I developed, or you could look at this and we'll come back and have a conversation in about 10 minutes. Let's give you 10 minutes to explore any part of this. I've been talking a lot, so now you have 10 minutes to explore, and then come back and tell us what you found and what you might use for your classroom. So yeah, 10 minutes, folks. And please ask if you have any questions in the chat, however. I'm gonna put some things in the chat. So we're exploring the resources. We have about 7 more minutes to go. There's a couple of handouts on this deck, on this slide, the to-go handout, the digging deeper handout as well. There's also the lessons that I shared earlier as well are also linked in the chat. So if you wanted to grab any of those or look through the slide deck, they're all there. Got about 5 more minutes. Go ahead and explore. Go ahead and jot any questions down if you have any questions for me or the group. If you have any resources that you use, it'd be great if you can throw them on the discussion doc to make it available for us as well. All right, so about 3 more minutes. Hopefully you guys are finding some good information. At least one new thing that you hadn't seen before. Cool. Thank you, Eliza. That's great. I'm really glad. All right, about 2 more minutes. Let me know if you think you need a little bit more time by saying in the chat a little bit more time. Glad to hear it, Dominic. Glad to hear it. All right, so if you're not done checking things out, that's fine. If you are done checking things out, I'm going to link the discussion doc there. And go ahead and tell us the name of the resource. If you want to link it there, you can. You don't have to. Just tell us the name of it, and then how you're going to use it in your classroom was what that document asks you. And then on the bottom, I just added, like, if you use media literacy and you have units of media literacy and you like to share like something that you think would be useful for your colleagues here in this session that I could add to, please go ahead and list them on the bottom. If you want to list your name next to it, that'd be great. If not, that's fine too. So go ahead and jump to that discussion document or continue looking at the resources, however, and we'll give about 5 minutes to add to the discussion doc, and maybe come back together at like 11:50. Give you guys a good chunk, a little bit of time to go through these things, because I do know it's a lot. Now I'll close up. So we're now on this discussion doc. Thank you very much. Whoever started adding to it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I see a lot of you on there. You guys rip it through this document, right on. You know, Tessa, it's true. It does complement that as well. And I found that if you do this media literacy work before you launch into creating the media, it really helps to give foundational knowledge to students about vetting these sources and how important it is to vet the sources as that they use for their documentaries. Yes, I think it works in tandem with it. And a lot of the information comes from KQED as well. All right, we got a couple more minutes to add to this doc. So I'm just gonna read a couple of things on the doc. Actually, do you guys, instead of me talking, do you guys want, so we can get a break from me talking? Do you guys want to open up your mics and talk about the different things that you found and how maybe you're going to adapt it? So kind of just read what's on this document.
Hi.
Hi, thanks.
I really, sorry,
That's all right.
just popping in. I really like these infographics that I can use as I want to blow them up like huge so they can be posters.
Yeah.
Because I think this is something that, yes, I want to teach explicitly, but also it's very easy to just kind of shuffle that back, and it needs to be a habit. Like
Right.
it's necessary that this is a reading habit with every other literacy skill that we try to ingrain.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're getting blown up and put on the wall.
Right on, right on. If you want another practice with lateral reading, there's the Pointer Institute on the To Go doc. They have a couple of good, strong videos to teach the lateral reading, like a good example and a bad example. And so you might want to look into that. All right, folks. I'm gonna say thank you. Thank you for adding to this doc. Thanks for opening up your mic. And take all this information and put it into play in your classroom, as much or as little of it as you think for your students. I think it's 11:50. We're about to close. These are the links in the deck. They go back generally to the slide in the deck, although some of them go directly to the handouts. These are the To Go handout and the Digging Deeper handout are the menus that you were just looking at, the NPR podcasts, if you're going to use them, the Common Sense Vetted podcasts. So just so you could find them all at the same place. Oh, cool, Miss Warren, thank you. I'm just want to go back to the previous part of this PD. I ended up at a Time magazine article, How Your Brain Tricks You. Too long to read the whole thing, but it did go into the science of this. Right on. Cool. Thank you, Ms. Warren. So those are the links in the deck. This is Critically Evaluating Media. Please give me feedback of how I could get better for you, what other information you need about this. I'm going to continue to explore this with teachers this year as we design professional developments, as we go work with schools. And again, my team, the digital learning team, can come out and provide workshops and set up things where maybe a group of teachers can examine something and put it into play in their classrooms, and and just get better at doing this work. This is me, Ricardo Elizalde, Department of Technology. There's my email if you want to get a hold of me, if you want to plan something, you want me to come out and do some lesson planning around this stuff, that'd be more than amazing. Here are the resources that the Department of Technology has put together. These are the teams. If you don't know who your cohort partner is, mine is cohort 1 elementary schools, which includes Noe Valley, Mission, and Glen Park for the most part. And then my colleagues are part of these cohorts. And that's all the people there that I work with. If you haven't seen them, especially for elementary schools, specifically for elementary schools, I mean, it's the grades K-5 digital learning getting started guides. Very robust, tries to answer all the questions of how you get started with digital learning, what you do about Chromebooks, the rules around Chromebooks and that kind of stuff, but then also how you start implementing some of this information into your classroom. We have a digital agency curriculum, of which I think January is going to be the media literacy month. And I believe it's going to go out to all the schools. We're going to go out actually to schools and do one media literacy piece for each month for the next 7 months, 8 months. And each month is going to have like a half-hour lesson. And so media literacy will be January's lesson, I believe. But it's a robust document that my colleague created this year to last us throughout the whole year. So instead of digital citizenship in this district, it's digital agency and my digital life. Yippee for the new Google features. There you go, some more Google stuff, get into it. And the DLEAF program, if you guys don't know about the DLEAF program, it's our digital learning facilitator program for the district, where we bring some of this information and work with teachers as well, doing some of this stuff, portfolios and media literacy. and then Seesaw website. That's all I got, folks. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tess. Gracias, Tess. And then thank you, Eliza. Thank you, everybody. Let me know how this can be a better session, a more robust session for you in the feedback, and we'll bring you more information. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you, Jennifer. Anna, thank you. Thank you, Rachel. Eliza. All right, I'm closing the room. Thank you, Judith. Santa Payes, ¿qué pasó, Payes? ¿Cómo está todo? Sánchez Payes, ¿verdad? All right, I'm gonna stop share. All right, folks, I'm gonna close the room.